government is about to announce its turnaround plan for Eskom. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan will detail a comprehensive roadmap for the struggling power utility. Let's bring the discussion back to studio as we wait for that briefing to begin. Mike Rousseau is from the Independent Energy Thought Leader and joins us now in studio. And Mike, what's important to note about you and why it's so great to have you with us in studio is that you will want an advisor to Eskom, and so you will know the challenges in detail. What are we hoping? What's your sort of wish list for what we're hoping to hear?
To me, the biggest challenge in this regard is not so much the plan. The plans are good and the plans are commendable. But the problem is that we've seen over the last 2 decades, many plans, no implementation. So it'll be interesting to see the extent to which this particular plan that the Minister will announce is implementable, because I don't expect anything new that we haven't heard before. But the problem is lack of implementation.
Policy is not our issue, isn't it? We've got all of the ideas on paper.
In fact, we've got too much policy, quite frankly. Policy is like objectives and so on. But implementation means that there needs to be an organization, there needs to be skills, there needs to be a schedule, there needs to be resources, there needs to be finances, and a very hard-nosed plan under the leadership of a very competent project implementation organization. I don't believe Eskom will be able to implement this. It's not possible. They've got too much on their hands already. They're struggling to maintain what they currently have. To take on a project as this will be a big challenge.
And it's that millstone that we're talking about around Eskom's neck, that 450 billion rand in debt. We saw the President in London just earlier this month promising investors that we're going to come up with innovative ideas on how to deal with that 450 billion rand in debt. What might that be?
Look, I think the big thing for me is the debt is one thing, it's what it is, mostly as a result of loans. And obviously over expenditure on major projects such as Medupi and Kusile. The big issue here is whether Eskom can handle the costs. They are overspent in virtually every single aspect of their business, in particular on coal, and they've not shown sufficient determination to deal with those costs. So with regards to the debt, it's one thing. But I don't see sufficient action and determination on the part of Eskom and government, by the way, in cutting those costs.
So let's talk about some of the other possible solutions that we've been banning about in the media. The issue of selling off some of the coal-powered fire stations, and the unbundling, of course.
Yeah, the unbundling, I think, will be predominantly what the Minister will be announcing today, but we'll see what he says. Selling off the coal-fired power stations, I don't know who's going to buy them, quite frankly. Not the old ones anyway, because the international lending community will not be in favour of lending money for coal projects. However, what Eskom can consider is to sell off to independent power producers some of the larger, newer power stations, which they're struggling to maintain anyway. And I have no doubt the Chinese and the Indians will be very interested in buying them, because they are good assets on condition that they get addressed properly.
You don't sound very optimistic, and we've sort of been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, sort of building up to this game changer of an announcement that we're going to hear from the Public Enterprises Minister today, but it's limited as to what he can announce today.
Yeah, it's limited to the extent that obviously they're mindful of the fact that there are many naysayers and objectives, and I understand that. So they would limit the announcement to things that are, if you will, in bite-sized chunks that the public can understand. As I said, in principle, I think it's been on the cards for a long time, which essentially is the unbundling of generation, transmission, and distribution, and also to create clusters of generation, to create competition and transparency in generation. But let's not kid ourselves. This is a long-term plan. It's not going to happen overnight.
And I think that's probably where, the public comes in, and we are looking for, we've just had breaking news over the past hour around our unemployment numbers.
Yeah.
We know that's linked to our growth in our economy. We can't give a steady supply of energy, and so it's difficult to attract investors.
Exactly. So the important thing to note here is that for too long, government in particular has turned to Eskom in terms of growth and in terms of economic development. That's not what it is. Eskom must create affordable power that is reliable. That creates growth.
Yeah.
That creates economic investment. So you can't use Eskom as a vehicle for economic development. It's wrong, and it's been wrong from the beginning. What Eskom needs to focus on is their primary objective, to provide affordable power that is reliable and available. That will attract investment, and that creates jobs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep an eye on that presser. It hasn't started just yet. Once it does, you'll stay with us, hopefully, a little bit. Mike Rousseau is an energy expert. He was at one stage an advisor to Eskom as well.